let's continue with the standing up in guard to break the guard series. So everything's set for my base. Now, all things aren't always going according to plan. I always like to use this tactic of picking off the arm on one side so I can put my foot up. What happens is sometimes as you try and grab this, he'll break it off somewhere midstream of your pass if you don't quite have as good of a grip. And the other thing is sometimes if he knows what's going on, right, he's a nightmare with his closed guard, but he also knows that you're finally getting desperate and you're going to try and stand up to break the guard open because you can't do it from knees. He'll just hide that on. So he's just kind of bringing it back, or sometimes guys will even hide it behind their head so you can't get it. So from here I'm just going to go for the actual technique by itself. It's not required that you have an arm picked off, I just always prefer to. So from here, while maintaining my good base, I go through that whole series again of lean, get my leg up, okay? Nice and tight, controlling his hip, knowing where he's at. Now, the one thing you do realize here that at any point, he can start to get a grip on his leg, okay? So I'm still going to just police my base the whole way through. I'm coming up with my turn, rotate my foot out, and I go for my lunge to stand up and cinch in on his hips as I do it. Now as I'm coming up, that's already digging underneath my leg, okay? And now this is where he would be scooting his hip over on top of my knee, buckling my leg, and sweeping me into position. From here, if you get this pressure, I'm going to have you do this and trust it, okay? So right now I'm still giving him a little too much of a shove. A lot of times people will feel that pressure and they'll hunker down here, and that's where they wind up getting swept, or Matt could also grab my sleeve here and do an omoplata sweep too. Okay? Now, I have some problems in there. So from here, what I'm going to do is simultaneously drop my knee into his rib cage, and I'm going to do a big air guitar motion with my arm. And I have to get posture as I do it. So as soon as I feel this, don't worry about it. Just do everything with your mechanics. So I'm going to make that big motion like this, okay? Kind of Elvis, sun never sets on a legend motion. Got to make sure that leg just flies by. Don't let him get caught up on your arm. Good, so coming back in, he's hiding that grip. I know as soon as I start to go, he's going to bring his arms back into play and attack me. That's okay, I'm relying on all my base here. Everything we've been talking about, rising up with good base. So shifting, leg up, controlling the hip. Coming up nice and tight. As I stand, he's coming in. Big motion from here, okay? Actually makes it worse for him if you do it with good timing. I'm pinning his body and totally isolating his hips and his legs with my pin on my leg. At the same time, I'm doing the big air guitar motion to just let that leg swing right by. And now from here, I'm in a great position to come in on top. Okay, this time again, that goes for another type of sweep, the classic double ankle grab. He's going to grab behind my ankles or heels, drop down just enough to get a little lift and knock me backwards. First thing I want to do is rely on this position to feel it ahead of time, touching on what we did last time, and really make sure that my pinching on the hips gives me the sensors in there, and my stacking on his hips above his head gives me the sensors, so as soon as he starts to do that, he's going to have a problem, okay? So I'm just going to be able to hip in and pass. Okay, so from here, I don't have the grip again. We'll go through the whole series. As I stand up, that goes here. Now look, I should be cinching in here. This is the pressure people forget about. If Matt can drop his hips down between my legs, he's going to have me. So from here, I'm cinching in on that little spot, the little divot in his glutes. So as we come here, he pinches in, now he goes to drop. As soon as he does that, I hip in. Okay, from here, sweep. Good. Just a little pass, right? I controlled his hips with my knees and my posture the whole time. Now from here, great opportunity for me to go ahead and just pass. Okay, next we're going to assume that Matt does get that double ankle sweep. So either his timing was better in the exchange, or I made a little mistake with my positioning, so he does hit it. So I'm going to show the sweep first, then I'm going to show you a counter to it. So if it does happen, it doesn't make you paranoid. You know you've got some options here, so that you're not going to never stand up just for fear of the sweep. Now let's look at it with my counter. Key thing here is as I start to go back, I want to be thinking ahead and I want to be controlling Matt's hips because those are what are going to lead as he climbs on top of me if he has a good follow-up to that sweep. If I try and push away on his upper body, that's when you get the guys who will slide right up on top of you into a mounted armbar. Bad news. So watch where my grip goes. Okay, very strategic, and I'm going into a classic standing in base from the bottom position that you see in jiu-jitsu all the time, and I'm just using that in conjunction with a grip on Matt's hips. Okay? So from here, I go through and stand up. Matt's ready to hit me with that sweep, and I didn't have the positioning, so as I go backwards, look, I'm coming back with one arm on the mat, and from here, my hand up on his chest where he can jump his hips underneath my armpit and armbar me, but instead goes right on his abdomen, right on the belt. Now from here, as Matt starts to slide his hips up on top, look, I frame him just long enough to scoop myself back, and now I can either go to a kneeling, or if I wanted to, even a standing position, and come out of there. Okay, one time full speed, and this time I'm going to purposely not do quite as good of a cinch on his hips as I go into the standing position to make sure he can drop his hips down and hit that sweep.